everybody. Welcome back to the Aliens and Angels podcast. Philip Kinsella and Chris John Mayes are my two special guests today, and they join us to explain who and what are we beyond our biological construct, and what is the bigger picture beyond this universe. Philip Kinsella is the author of numerous books and articles on UFOs and consciousness. And Chris John Mayes offers us a vast knowledge of UFOs and psychic consciousness exploration. Together, they have co-authored The Eternal Avatar, which takes a deeper look into the amazing individual you represent and the inherent powers you harbor. As it explores areas of paranormal and other varied research of reality to help understand our true self as the evolving avatar. All of the links are featured below in the description. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, and please do share my content with your friends. And I'm happy to announce that my YouTube channel and my Rumble channel both accept memberships, so you can receive my perks and also help to support my channels. So without further ado, we're going to bring on Philip and Chris. Welcome. So nice to meet you, Chris, and so nice to see you again, Philip.
It's a pleasure, Karen.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you. Looking forward to the show.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for sending me your book. I'm absolutely loving it, and I consider it absolute essential reading for anybody who has had experiences with the paranormal or is interested in the paranormal. It really, really opens up um, a lot, because what it does is, at least for me, I can shut off that repeating tape that says, well, maybe you imagined it, Karen, or maybe you've got an overactive imagination, as I've been told all my life. And it was funny that in the beginning of the book, I was reading about how you both see color flashes or orbs or spheres. And I too have had the same experience, and I thought I was having neurological issues. Do you want to start off by telling us what those flashes of light actually mean? Because I'm sure a lot of people out there are having that happen for them too.
Well, I mean, when you're seeing colors, what you're seeing is energy and all different levels of energy, given their color frequency, dictates the level of frequency that it's operating at. And with your third eye, that has a correlation with seeing the energy, and that ties in with the etheric bodies as well, which I think is an energetic part of the physical body, and the higher soul, the astral as well, coming together, merging, which we'll go on to later. But yeah, seeing lights, I think that's very much an attribution to how you're opening up to the energies of yourself and the environment that you're in.
Yes.
And so you're saying it's a normal or a healthy
Yes,
physiological response to our true nature. Is that what you're saying?
like it's a byproduct of your ability to be so sensitive to the energies. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
were you going to say? Sorry for interrupting.
Well, I will say that many years ago I had a small stroke, and I was seeing the lights before, and I assumed perhaps there was some kind of neurological disruption, but I've been checked over and everything else was fine, recovered from it. And so, yeah, I see the colors very much. I mean, they are evident. Even sometimes on my own, when I'm on my own, I will see silver lights and I'll see a blue light.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are two silver lights that are kind of connected together. And I'm in my mind, like reaching out to them saying, who are you? What are you? I get nothing back. It's like they're not going to explain everything to you. And I've spoken to Chris many times about this, and he is absolutely on the ball with regards to the energy. And the colors are very important, because this may show us clearly. It clearly, I think, shows us that these interdimensionals are operating on different levels of frequency. And Chris,
Mhm.
in the book, explained about our light spectrum. We have a colored light spectrum. So whether or not, it's very interesting to know these are the spirits of what we call the dead, or the portals, the dimensional openings to their realms, we don't know. But what we do know is that it's an incredible thing that happens. And when I see them, I'm shocked. I'm really shocked more times than not, because it's like, wow, there they are. What more? What evidence do you need? But there again, people won't believe you because they can't see it. It's you that's seeing it. So that's my take on it.
And also, I think when you see lights, it can also come from different reasons, being, i.e., it's either the person you're seeing, you can see lights around them, and that's just basically the energy that they're emanating. But also, you can be talking and you see lights around them, but that's actually spirit. And quite often, I would ask the person, what were you thinking just then? Because quite often, lights, when you see like a bright white light or a golden light, that often is connected to something that they've thought. They've been emotionally connected to something at that moment. And it's like spirit saying, I'm confirming what I've heard you say, what you felt. And I've quite often correlated the two and found that there is an association between the person's dynamic frequency of thought and the lights presenting themselves around the environment of the person. So it can even be an expression, a release of the energy, or spirit coming in, allowing you, the person, the reader, to then relay the message to the person saying, I think spirit is telling you with what you've just said is true, or that it's affirming. Yeah.
Interesting, very interesting. So, as I mentioned at the beginning, I really feel this is an essential read for everybody who is interested in a higher state of being or knowing, people who have paranormal experiences or would like to have paranormal experiences, people who know that what we're fed in this construct is not necessarily the truth and not necessarily to our advantage or to our highest way of being. So I thought maybe we could take turns with the two of you, while, or you could talk at the same time. It's totally up to you. Tell us about the book, sort of a summary overview. What is this going to give the readers? And why is this so important for all of us to have this information?
Okay, so the Eternal Avatar came about through Chris's suggestion. He was talking about the Avatar. We'd been out for a drink with another friend, and and Chris dropped this, and I caught it, and I wondered, because it started to seed in my mind, and I thought, I wonder whether or not we could actually co-author a book, because the Avatar in Hinduism means an elevated soul coming into incarnation, and as most people currently understand, is only the Earth system, but we know differently. So the book is not just about case studies of near-death experience, because that's been done to death, and excuse the pun there. There was a sense of irony with that. But it is to try to explain to the individual that they are more than the sum total of their biological construct, that they have purpose. How many people ask, what am I doing here? Why am I here? What's the purpose to my existence? We're told that we live and then we die and that's it. But we know there's so much more. And in terms of the Avatar, Chris and I, believe that the Avatar is not exclusive to an elevated master who has already incarnated in this form at some stage within their spiritual evolution, but that we are all evolving avatars, that we are all embracing or trying to become closer to the Godhead of creation. So Chris will give his take on that, but we kind of like see things on the same page, most definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when we discussed the book and what the contents, we wanted to allow the reader to take the information and a wide range of information, and then just put it together, put it in the mix and say, what would you think of this information? What does this suggest to you as a reader, based on the science, the history, where we are, our own personal experiences as well, which I think should be as valid as anyone else's, to make their own assumption and just to open your mind. That's the key, opening the mind to something that is something beyond us. That was the crucial message, and for hope, because at the moment we are in dark times, and we wanted to give people the idea that what you're told, the physical body, is the prison, so to speak, and we need to think beyond it, and then that will be in itself a release to something much better for everyone else and a greater way of living.
Very, very good. It's very exciting that We live in a time where it's certainly perplexing and it's hard to know what to believe. There's so much information everywhere. But at the same time, we have a terrific freedom to discuss these matters openly without fear of being burned at the stake or God knows what. And so that's very exciting to me because I have always thought there's just gotta be more than what we're fed within what I call the construct. There's just gotta be so much more. And then I have my own paranormal experiences. And, when I tried to get answers, I was told, don't talk about that. People are going to think you're crazy. And even today, the number one way to discredit anybody is by insinuating that they're non compos mentis, that they're not in control of their thinking abilities or their sensing mechanisms. Then the other choice seems to be either that or from a religious context that we're evil. If we're having these experiences, oh my God, we're in league with the devil. And I am so fed up with those two perspectives that I just refuse to even have to address them because I am neither evil nor am I wicked or crazy. I'm a little off the beam, but that's okay. And I've had these amazing experiences that I have never been able to explain, but your book clearly showed me how it is so possible. Do you want to talk a little bit about the nature of man or even of humanity? That we're not just this sack of meat, as so many people think we are.
That's right, and the sack of meat, exactly, because we are available to get information beyond the physical realm, absolutely beyond space and time. I've personally experienced it. I've had my connections with my twin brother, things that came to me that I had no reason or knowledge of why things were happening to him at that given moment. And when you touched on evil, I think when someone's calling you evil and you're telling someone at that time about love and connection, but evil in itself, in its definition, is anything that detaches us from the greater being of who we are, our connection with God.
Mm.
That's evil. It's not to say it's a person or a physical state, but darkness and evil are correlated. They're connected in that it's the absence of light. It's the absence of itself. Because light, once it's there, where does darkness go? It is nothing. So it's nothing. Darkness and evil isn't a substance. It's not a physical thing. It's a state, and it's an illusion. It is an illusion because once that light's on, it's gone. It doesn't exist. It's just purely only there because it's the absence of light. So again, evil. It's a big topic, one we have to discuss, which we do in the book. It has to be because of light and dark. That's in the duality of the life in this given reality. And when it comes to thought in itself is, I think, without attention, it's being taken away. It's being stripped away. We're being diverted left, right, and center. I think within the book, I do mention that we need to bring ourselves back into the moment, back into the present, and empower ourselves and touch within, get connected with our oneness at this present moment. Don't worry about the future. Don't worry about the past, because with fear, it reduces your IQ. You don't think rationally, and you lose your sense of power and your connection. And that's the power that they use against you. You think the idea of religion is that God is separate from you. It isn't. And that's the question I pose to the reader, and where you sit within your spiritual beliefs. Because I think with religion, it detaches you and you think that God is separate and in another realm. The question I pose to the listener or the watcher is this question: if you sit here now, do you think that you can speak with God, and do you think you can hear him? Do you think he can contact you in any way, whether it's a thought, a pet, a dog, a random event? But I think he can. I think God should be with us at any given moment and access at every given moment. I think that's the way God wanted us to be. I'm not saying I'm Christian or any other religion, but I think God is an entity, a consciousness of something much bigger that we are being detached from. And I think with transhumanism, we're being detached. Everything seems to be anti-human at the moment. We're losing ourselves and the ability to know who we are before i.e. the microchips and the AI take over. So this book at the moment is like, you need to know who you are before we lose ourselves, before we actually not discover the true nature of our abilities and our powers to connect with that all-encompassing being of energy and light and love. And that in itself will generate enough people with enough key mass of people thinking, will then help others to see and discover themselves, because that's what we need to be. We need to live our truth, be the truth, and see and show people who and what we can be, and then they will see it themselves.
Mm-hmm. And I think I also think that um, boldness, being brave, and expressing our truth begets it from other people. It gives them permission to then speak up more about their truth as well. Sorry, go ahead, Philip.
Chris and I, we understand, and it's incredible because the other part to this is that when you spoke, Karen, about people seeing you as evil, and Chris has quite rightly explained the thoughts surrounding that. If the truth about our origins, our actual origins, was to be made public, I think a lot of people's jaws will be on the floor, and far more spectacular in revelation than what we have been led to believe in the simplified, translated version that most people hold within their churches and the holy books. So I think there is a lot of interest as well about the avatar and its evolution. And I agree most definitely with Chris that when he said, and he told me, he said to me that, you don't have to be in a synagogue or a temple or a church to find God. God is within you. That divinity is spark, that spark of awareness is deep inside the core essence of your being. And what's interesting is you can feel it. You can feel it through healing. Chris is a healer as well. And when you feel someone giving you healing, that is incredible as well. So people say, I want proof. I want proof. Well, in all areas of the paranormal, we're never brought any real proof because it's operating on higher frequencies of dimensional awareness. And our technology is not up to date with capturing these so-called images. The orbs and lights can be caught. UFOs are occasionally caught. But I think, people have been divided. And if you go back into ancient times, the Tower of Babel was created, I think, symbolically to show that language, the secret, was shattered, was scattered like some diamond cast into billions of pieces. And we're trying to put the pieces back together again. But unfortunately, the system we serve has hijacked human consciousness, and this divide is not helping us. But it's wonderful that within our book, mine and Chris's book, is that we try to show, to demonstrate to the reader that they are just as important as anyone else. Most people in life, God love them, they feel hopeless. They are told and informed that this is their lot. That bag of meat that you spoke about has a sell-by date. Well, we know that it doesn't. So the way that we're seeing this is it's also a manual, a beautiful manual with Chris's beautiful poetry to enhance and activate and try and reignite that belief within the system that they currently occupy. So, yeah.
Wonderful, really wonderful. It's interesting. I heard once someone said, I thought it was pretty accurate, that a religious man goes to church and thinks about going fishing, and a spiritual person goes fishing and thinks about God. And I thought that was kind of accurate. As for me, I don't have a religious affiliation anymore. I used to in the past, but I found that it was a bit crazy making because every denomination has its own rules and guidelines and claim they're the only ones that represent God and know how to worship God. And I found that not to be true in my reality. And but I'm going to tell you something. Even though I do think of God as being what Christians would consider Holy Spirit, it's an amazing energetic force. But I also found out through my own experiences that it knows me personally. Can you imagine that? That it knows me personally and answers my prayers. So that is transdimensional contact. So all the people out there who are going to church and praying, meanwhile, they think the psychic mediums are agents of the devil. They've completely missed out on what prayer even is. And so I just thought it was so lovely that you've both put your heads together and produced this amazing book that really, I'm not completely finished reading it yet, but so far it's very elevating to my spirit. And that I'm very excited about and also very grateful for. What else do you want to tell us about?
Chris, I think most people will find the part to Chris's recall of his emergence into this physical reality quite interesting, because as we know within the research, it's very rare for anyone to recall their incarnation process. So over to you, Chris.
Absolutely. I mean, the process itself, I did not know what it was when it was happening. And I was so young at the time, and it was something that was being repeated. It was being shown to me. It wasn't a nightmare because I had those, but this one was a recall, and I was being forced to recall and remember it. And when they started, I remember after so many of them, I could feel it happening. I could feel it beginning. And I was saying, no, I don't want it. I don't want to see this. I don't want to go through this again, because it was so traumatic in many ways. And so it begins where I was somewhere very light, very bright, and I was in an area where I was about to make a decision of coming here, and I was with other people. I could hear other voices, and they were just affirming, comforting, but affirming with my decision that I wanted to come here into this life and make that decision with every part of my soul. And there was no question. I wanted to come here, and I knew the difficulty because I was told that I would forget who I was, that the trials and the tribulations I would go through from that side looks easy because you're connected. But over here, when you've lost your sovereignty and your connection, that's who you really are, because you're not operating from that spiritual connection of elevation, of knowledge and wisdom. So that's where I think when we come across here, the difficulties, it's actually proving our mettle, so to speak. So anyway, when I came to this decision, the moment I made the decision to come here, boom, I left. And I was instantly being pulled away and being pushed. So I was being pushed from where I was while being pulled to a specific destination, somewhere yet that I did not know where and what it was going to be. But at the moment it went dark and I was disconnected, and it just not necessarily felt cold because there was no physicality just quite yet. But all the while I was forgetting where I was, the remembrance of that wonderful place, that connection of oneness, of energy, and nothing can hurt me. I was now in a place of vastness and being made small, and I was going through everything, through matter, lights, ribbons of matter. I was seeing something small and thinking it was, oh, that was just really small, but then being lost in it. It was consuming me, and I was falling through. And I knew the only security I had was that I knew I was going somewhere specific, somewhere that had a destiny for me. But all the while I was passing, and everything was getting bigger and bigger when I was becoming smaller and smaller and being further and further away removed from where I was. And that was the traumatic element of that. So I was losing myself and falling through, being pushed and pulled to this point, until eventually there was this golden light, and I saw this light get bigger and bigger, and then I emerged, and that's where it ended. But it was just the idea that the external world could influence me, that it had an impact on me, that it could hurt me. That knowledge was coming to me already, that you are no longer one, that the outside can affect you, was very a wake-up call to the decision that I made. Oh, what have I done? The reality when you're in here, when you're in the 3D environment, this world of separation, it hits you hard and cold, and it just feels so dense here. When I look back and I recalled what I was going through, it was only until I was 10 that it came to me. I'm thinking, hang on, what I was seeing, and it just, with what I was doing with research, and it just made sense, and it was almost like a spirit saying, "Yep, you've got it. This is now you remembered the full story," and it just came together. It was like a jigsaw puzzle. Yeah.
And it's sorry, Chris, and you also knew the reason why there was a choice that you had.
There, in my decision making, I could see my life and all the possibilities. Every possibility of right and wrong, good and bad. Maybe you could see it that way, but they did. You don't see it that way on the other side. It's just a case of one line of life was you really knew who you were and you stayed true to it, and the other ones were that all these external influences and problems, you lost yourself, you forgot yourself, and so therefore you wasn't quite activating your true source and your true power. So you kind of got lost within it. You got lost within this world. And that's how I saw it. I felt to myself, no, I will remember who I am. I felt strong that I could remember what it is and why I'm here and who I am. And I thought, no, I could carry my spirit through and be true to who I am. And that was the line of thought and my mission in this world. It was like, yeah.
I have to laugh because I spent so much of my life just looking around, not believing that it could be true, and wondering what the hell is going on, with society, family dynamics, you name it. It just perplexed the heck out of me. And then as came into my early adulthood and had even more challenges, I would speak out loud to my what I call my higher self, or my greater whatever I am beyond this body, and say, Karen, what the hell were you thinking to sign up for this? And then of course I would always reorient myself and be okay. But what a shock to be in human form. Everything from the time I think we're conceived is meant to traumatize us and hold us back. The birth process is so far from a healthy process, with hospitals and bright lights and spanking of the butt and all the rest of it, right through to our death. Oh my goodness, this is something else. Now, I'm not in a hurry to leave this realm, don't get me wrong. I rather like certain aspects of being here, but there's been many times in my life where I just went, what the heck were you thinking? It did not seem like it would actually feel this way once I was here. But not I'm not trying to be a big crybaby. I got my big girl panties on and I'm taking life as it comes to me. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
not an easy journey. But knowing the kind of information that you've put in your book, how we were, why we're here, how we got here, all of that stuff is just so amazing. But I'm hoping you can delve a little bit into the difference between our auric selves and our ethereal selves, because I often use those two terms interchangeably, but they obviously have very different meanings. And again, I want you to tell everyone so that we have more of an understanding of who and what we actually are.
Well, I have to joke, first of all, and go back into the line of questioning that you had about coming into this Earth sphere. Isn't it ironic that we come in and they're all wanting to get out? In fact, if we go back into the past, the Egyptians were doing the same thing. They viewed the afterlife as a major component to their whole structured system. So they obviously know a lot more than what many people do today in terms of the technological aspects to that, because what they discovered was that the ancient monuments, most notably not just in Aztec, but the Egyptian necropolises, are gateways, are stargates to other star systems. So yes, I was always in a hurry to get off this planet. And we are, in a process of contradiction, because there are certain things here that you're attracted to, and there is a lot that you're not. So it's a really harsh environment to learn from, especially. It's not the Earth, it's actually other people, and we have to be honest about this. That's the battle, the disconnection of minds, because everything in the paranormal is connected through telepathy. We as the evolving human, are very separate, where everything is in here and we're locked within this mechanism, and we can only reveal by sharing information with one to the other. But we have our understanding about the etheric and the astral body, and I know that Chris, we
Yeah.
have discussed all this, but you describe, Chris, how you see
Yeah,
it.
please. Yeah. So when it comes to the levels of the body in astral and etheric, I personally have had an out of body experience, but it was very conscious. I was very consciously aware. In fact, I almost made it happen, and I can do now. I can consciously take myself out of my body, and that's what I call astral projection. And the astral body, I think, is more in line with your conscious structure that's merged and aligned with your body, whereas the etheric, I think, is more of an energetic body. And I think the higher levels of your soul merging with your body needs that energetic body soul capsule to merge the two, because you're asking for something very of a high vibration and a physical low body to come together. And I think the etheric is almost like the go-between of the two as a merging, so that the spiritual energies and thought can be processed through the etheric and into the body, so the two can talk to each other. It's almost like a communication body. And where the etheric is energetic, you can see it. So you'll see the etheric colors, which is to do with the rainbow. And we mentioned that in the book as well, the idea that the etheric is made up of colors, of vibrations. It can be confusing for quite a lot of people with regards to the levels of energetic bodies that we are composed of. But I think they're the main two beyond this physical one that I think we work with, and that we can actually gain a lot of an advantage out of life with using it and connecting with it, to get a bigger understanding of what we're made of and who we're connected with.
Yes, and I also have to state here, if you can imagine a vibration around the body, we have the auric energy field. The second body, they call it, Robert Monroe, the famous pioneer, described it that way. But within the etheric, it's like small waves and then hitting the astral, which is the main body, because we have multiple bodies within this form. But when the severance occurs, when we pass over to what we call the other side, the real essence of you merges with your real home, your real dimension of self. So the other thing that we wanted to question within this book, not just about your wholeness and your greatness and your ability to transcend both space and time right here and right now, and as Chris said, talking to God anywhere that you are within the world, it's also trying to help you understand of your importance and of your mission. And what's interesting is, if we had discussed these matters back in the early 80s, I mean, people would have been walking away from you. It was the same within the UFO subject and cryptozoology, ghosts, life after death. But isn't it interesting how we've evolved past that point now in terms of our conscious intellect, and we're now asking questions? So something's happened, and I believe this is very exciting because all of us, myself included, the same with Chris, there's this burning need, this burning desire to know that everything is going to be okay. And people will say, oh, it's because you've got some issue because you're vulnerable in life. Well, aren't we all? Yes, aren't we all? But the truth is that when you have been touched by this singularity, when you have seen those that were on this side appear to you, when you see the lights, when you have a conversation to a degree, the translation of those from the other side connecting with you from spirit, what is that telling you? And the system that we serve has done its damnedest to shut us down. And Chris also mentioned this, as it's mentioned in the book, and it has to be mentioned. Oh, don't do this and don't do that back in the day because you're a witch and we'll burn you and we'll drown you. No, no, no. We need you to think along a straight line and not beyond that point. And this is the problem we're having now, because now there is conscious rebellion. It's no longer conscious dissidence. It's conscious rebellion. I think that's what we're having to deal with now. And it's wonderful that we're now trying to, through the chaos, form some kind of theoretical angle to this to direct us into the knowledge that the system has lied to us.
Yes, I would agree 100%. Now, let's focus a little bit on our mission, why we're here. Now, this is just my words on how I understand it. There is a type of rock, they call it a touchstone, and you can take any metal and drag it across this touchstone, and it would leave tiny little particles in specific ways so that you would know whether that was actually gold or not gold or some other type of metal. It's called a touchstone, and this is what they used before people had common access to technologies to find out what different metals were made out of. And of course, there's all kinds of things that sparkle that are not gold. And I feel like my life warts, bumps, and all, is like a touchstone. And how I react and respond to the stimulation and to the good, the bad, and the ugly experiences I have here tell what I'm actually made out of. What is my metal? What is my metal? So, for instance, there's been many, many, many times where I could have chosen to do what I would consider the wrong thing. I could easily have stolen something that was right there for the taking. I could have told a lie to get out of perhaps somebody being angry at me. There's many, many choices. And I would generally, and I'm not a perfect person, but let's just say generally, I will choose the higher path. And it's not because I think God's watching me and I'm going to get punished. It's because I know that a path of what I would consider to be loving actually is functional. It actually works. And on an energetic level, we're changing the whole world when we make these decisions that are not always easy. But I'm wondering if that at all fits in with what you're telling us in the book about why we're here.
Yes, there is
Sorry,
a
I
top.
didn't mean to.
Yeah, no, it's okay, Karen. There's a chapter called "Bringing Your Light into a Dark World," and within that chapter, we speak about the light, and it's mentioned quite a lot. We say, oh, you carry a light, and you need to bring the light into this world. And for me, light, the spelling of light, I think L is for love, I is for inspiration, G is for gratitude, H is for hope, and T is for truth. And I think that's what light represents. Those characters. And as you say, Karen, you make decisions, but what decisions are you basing it on? Love, or are you inspired, or are you just making a decision through being grateful, or hopeful, or truthful? And I think all of those, as a merge of oneness, is your light collectively. And I think that's one of the characters of why we're here, and the reasons why we're here is to work on our light and what those elements are that altogether are what we are, in how we think, our actions that we make, and basically how we use our light to bring that light into others, and how they recognize it within themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I have to say also what's incredible, with regards to light, and Chris has taught me so much since we met, and that was all under synchronistic conditions, as it were. So you'll find that within your life, when you're starting to open up, not in a gullible way, but when you're starting to open up genuinely from inside, that these other energies come to you. It's very difficult to try to contain yourself and keep yourself in the moment. But what's interesting about the Eternal Avatar is also these struggles. None of us are perfect. We all have faults. We've all done something we're not proud of. But what we're doing is that we're making ourselves aware of those. I wouldn't call them mistakes. We may look at them as a process of decision making.
Mm-hmm.
And so the book primarily is to show people, because there's a lot of people out there in the world who have the most amazing abilities and gifts, but the system that we serve does not give them the ability to expand upon that, because we live in a world where you have to go and get a job, and there's not many choices for that. And I did say to Chris a while back, if you look outside, I'm not generally here or where you live or where Chris lives, but in the world, most of the places are uninspiring. There's no development. It just seems like in complete stagnation. It's all about money, 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 profit over people. And when you believe in yourself, when you bring your light and your inspiration, those qualities that Chris spoke about, there is a change. You can feel it. So when you are reaching out to the Godhead that's in you anyway, you can feel that. It is a moment that is sacred. Sometimes if you're alone and you are wanting something, or you're wanting to create something, or whatever it may be, there is this feeling deep inside. And I've explained, Chris and I speak about these subjects in depth. When I open up to spirit, it is like submitting a part of yourself in the most glorious of ways to a higher power. And it is the most wonderful feeling. People talk of angels. They were known in Gnostic texts as aeons that were connected to the one, that were given a choice and freedom to expand upon the process of individuality. And I think this is happening with us. So it's like a waterfall effect. And where we are within our sovereignty, it is incredible. So the other subject that we had to address was not just a recall from, like Chris, with coming into the world, or our memories of the other side, or past lives, or life between life sessions, but also about what it means to be human and why we're here. And we are trying to fight, not physically, but intellectually, to bring about this change within the system of the old ways that is getting boring now. I don't know about you, Karen, and I know Chris is. It's boring, isn't it? Like at the moment, it's just like a wheel going around. It's like, stop. We have to stop, and we have to start to ask the question, come on, you've kept the UFO subject away from us. You've lied to us about the evidence. You're not willing to accept or embrace life after death, because that hangs in the balance of belief. And the system will be quite happy to accept that, because there's no scientific evidence to suggest that it's real. Well, there won't be, will there? Because it's interdimensional in nature. So we are coming, I think, within a crucial element within our life. And you can see what's happening within the light and the darkness. And we must bring the darkness into this, because that's what's happening at the moment. And this is why we have this now explosion of people stopping and saying, hang on just a minute, what the hell is going on? Why am I here? And what is this all about? You see, so this is primarily also our book, mine and Chris's book, discusses these parts. Uncomfortable territory, of course, but they must be examined. They must be explored.
For those who have come in late, I just want to show you, we're talking about the Eternal Avatar. And this book has just come out, and it's so fascinating because it addresses everything that's not commonly talked about. How we got here, what we're made out of, what our purpose is, what are different aspects to being. And then, of course, probably even more important is, what are we going to do with this now that we know that we're incredibly powerful, incredibly powerful. And it has always been my belief that we can change this world so fast if we just could come together with the power of who and what we really are. I want to just take a minute to very quickly say hello to the people who've come to the live chat today. Of course, we've got Denise, my moderator. We've got Heavyweights, Light Feels. We've got Willard Wright and Leah. And let's see if we missed anybody else. No, if I missed anybody, I do apologize. I just want you to all know that I really appreciate you coming to the live, and appreciate your input. If I may not get to your comments, but it's all very important. Philip, did you want to pick up to sort of what I've just said?
Chris is going to explain that for us, Karen.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks, Karen.
Chris, I'm happy either way.
We posed quite a few questions there. Like, most people would come to that conclusion at the end of the book. Is like, what's the purpose? How do we change the world with this knowledge? And it's, yes, we act on the light, which we mentioned just previously, and those characteristics, and everyone has that light at varying degrees. But it's a case of like, what do we do? What do we do with that light? And there were stories like with Mother Teresa and anyone that operates on a very high level, that they actually affect the environment and the people. You don't have to do anything, just be of thinking of that energy, of being that energy, of making actions of higher level action, like energetic reasoning, and it actually affects the environment and people. So just being in the room on your energetic level can affect the environment and people and their consciousness, and I think that's where when you're operating on a higher frequency, you don't see the unseen literally changing. And that's the key in this world. I think it's where people collectively on a higher level working together, it will just work behind the scenes. It will start affecting people in the environment, because at the moment we're in a paradigm where it's shifting. And I think consciously, once we become lighter beings, that light will just filter through into the environment, and people that may not be awake, just being in the room will help them consciously, spiritually, to see and think of higher frequency thoughts.
Absolutely. I want to tell you a little, sorry, I don't mean to take up too much of the talk time, but this is, I think, case in point. I've always communicated with vegetation, trees, flowers, plants, bugs, animals, you name it. I've always believed that I could communicate with them. And one time I was living in an area that about 100 feet away from me, there was all these trees that were just young trees growing. And I noticed that after me going out on the balcony and acknowledging them and their beauty and how much joy they brought to my life, just in the section behind my balcony, they started growing out towards my balcony. And I said to them, if you guys keep doing this and can reach my balcony by Christmas, I'm going to decorate you. And I was all excited. I know this sounds completely fruity, but this is how I am. Well, they did. They grew out towards my balcony. I was so excited. Then one day I heard the chainsaws. And I went out and they cut down my friends. This always makes me teary. And I felt like it was my fault because I had encouraged them to grow towards my balcony and now they all got chopped down. But the point is, the trees responded to my intention. My cats respond to my intention. And it's a very magical, magical, energetic world if we just open our eyes, drop the fear, and let it be. It's so exciting. And your book tells us how this is all possible.
Yes, I think that consciousness is interesting because the problem is the system has contained it. People say, oh, I imagined this or I imagined that, as though imagination is stored within a box within the brain that's opened up now and again. Thought, as we know, and Chris, and I have to say this to Chris, he's taught me so much on how energy can affect your environment, because beforehand I was so involved with the clairvoyance, right? I was doing readings all the time, and I hadn't had the time to really explore these other areas, which are much deeper and far more complex. So the mind, as we know, is the builder. You know, imagination does not exist. Although we use it in context, the imagination is mind. Mind is source, source is energy, and it is all to do with creation. Everything that is around us has been brought through from the mind. And one wonders what incredible other imaginings that could assist our evolution have been hidden, and that is proven to help assist us going forward with clean energy, you know, things that can run without electricity and that type of thing, that's using the resources of this beautiful planet. So when you mentioned, Karen, that you were using your mind to talk to the trees, to talk to the bugs, to talk to animals, it is not ridiculous, because we talk to God, an omnipresent being that we can't touch, we can't feel, we can't smell, but we know that we love. We know what love means. Love is a language that cannot be explained. It is something that comes deep within inside the spirit of you. And we get hurt a lot of the times, but you feel that. And love builds, love creates, love extends upon all of this. And this is why the system, Chris is very much into all this as well and written about it. This is why the system knows how we operate consciously, psychologically, emotionally, mentally, all of those aspects. And it's working on it. But we're fighting back. We're saying, no, you can't do that to me, and I'm not going to let you. Because we are strong, because this force that's holding us hostage, and you know, people say, what are you talking about? What force? There's just humans and you're running through a cycle. Well, no, we know that the system we serve has lied to us, not just within our evolutionary design, but also about covering the secrets. You know, people tend to think that Earth is the only planet of choice, that we only come here from heaven and go backwards and forwards. Well, now we know that's not true, because again, addressing the Egyptians, they know within their studies about the Orion star systems beyond this scope of reality, extraterrestrial civilizations, and of course hybrids. I have a recall of a life not here, on this planet, on Earth, that is to say. I have memories of past lives. Sure, I have those on the other side. I had two experiences of passing over, what I believe were of me passing over. One of them is undoubtedly the case, because I almost drowned in South Africa. But I think this is interesting for the reader, for those who are discovering the greater aspect of themselves, because the system, and damn the system, has lied to us, and it's very evident. So our book is giving the person hope. hope for a greater reality for themselves. Because if you have a dream, you have a vision, work on it. People will bring you down, of course. They'll tread on you. They'll tell you no good. No, 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 don't listen to them. You have to find that power and that force, because it's locked inside you and you can unleash it.
Absolutely. It's like all the Agent Smiths out there. You can have a neighbor who's absolutely lovely, and then you bring up the subject, whatever, UFOs or higher spirituality or anything, and they all change and speak with the same kind of condemnation and ridicule. It's really weird. And when you're aware of all these things, it's just a really weird life. So, it's not hard for me to think there has to be so much more. Now we're quickly running out of time, but we got 10 minutes or so more. I'd really love to just turn it over to you, and you start to share whatever you want. And I want to tell all of those, whether you're listening on an audio podcast or a replay, or you're here in the live chat, I've put the link so that you can order your own copy of the Eternal Avatar below. I cannot recommend it highly enough. And on that happy note, guys, please take it away.
Thank you, Karen. Like we touched on it just recently, just there. I think in that we're all connected, and it's been spoke about, written about, and proven in science that we are connected to a field. And a field within this world energetically. Again, we know that cells that are separated can communicate, and that just by looking at someone physically, eye to eye, we're passing light photons, we're sending information to each other, and that's the thing with the book. We wanted to let people know that so many things, so many magical things that you're made of are in the unseen, and it's having faith in the unseen, because a lot of the time that's what happens. We're ridiculed because we can't see it, touch it, it doesn't exist. And with proof in science now, it's really advancing now. It's really, and with Greg Braden. Are you familiar with Greg Braden? I would advise
yes.
people. Yeah, he's touching on really interesting insights now into the makeup of the universe and the effects that we have on it. And I think people underestimate themselves with the power of their thought, and that's why I bring it back to the power of the focus, bringing yourself into now. There's so many situations where I've used it myself, and I think using it positively, obviously, for the good, for yourself and for others, it just sending out good vibes, good thoughts to people, situations, and to yourself with health. It has an impact, and it's having that faith. You may not necessarily have to have a huge amount of faith, just an open mind that it works. And trust me, and it does have an effect. So, if there's a situation that you're not happy with, imagine it, visualize a happy place, visualize it improving. This is all within the realms of the secret that we know that's been discussed, but I think there's many more layers to it that we need to talk about, because I think there's a lot of times where we disempower ourselves. We need to realize and use it, because a lot of people, they're a byproduct of their experience, aren't they? You're a result of what your beliefs are based on what you've experienced, and not most people haven't had a spiritual experience. And we want people to read the book and say, no, I haven't had an experience, but let me read what people have had, and let me make a decision, and that will open my mind in that way. And that might just be enough for them to have a spiritual experience. And when I say spiritual experience, I don't mean something otherworldly. It doesn't have to be something that just breaks away the idea that the physical world is all there is, that you are connected to that bigger picture. Again, I keep saying it, but we are. We get lost so much in this physical world, and that's the way we've been trained to be, to make us lock ourselves into fear, and that brings us straight into the physicality. Our IQ drops, and again we've just lost our power. So we need to understand and bring us back to owning that power again, having the positive impact on people with their beliefs. Focus on positive, good things. I know it's not a new story, it's not a new teaching, but we just advanced on it more with science and how it's proving to be the case.
Yes, and magic. Think of this. To create is nothing less than magic. To listen to music lifts the vibration. To live in a world within the mind is infinite. We are locked temporarily in this temporary vehicle, biological vehicle. And yeah, sure, we're still trying to work things out. I'm confused about a lot of things. I don't have everything worked out. But by God, we're going to give it a try and the best we can while we're here. And yes, I would lie to you if I said that I'm not frightened of death. I'm not frightened of what's afterwards, but the process of how we go, and what's going on here. But to believe, to ignite that seed, to create that spark that becomes a flame and an inferno, and that and that Chris knows, and that link that connects us with wonderful, beautiful souls out there who are frightened, who are lonely, who are trapped, and to give them hope, to know that they're not the only ones on this planet. There are greedy, controlling people, and they lead their paths, they walk their paths. That's how they see their reality. But ultimately, I think the beauty is that all of us here and many other good souls out there on planet Earth and beyond this level of reality, that creation, that love within the mind is the most beautiful thing ever. We create everything from it, and we will not allow the system to destroy our spiritual sovereignty. They can try, but they won't be able to do it. So whatever we know about the war, the silent war, we theorize about what could possibly be happening, and this goes all the way to the past, not the fairy tale version that we've been given, but the hardcore facts that's actually stamped and written in clay tablets called codices that have, dates and incredibly much older than we've been told from the system we serve. So the lies and the deception and the control must come to an end. And it's wonderful that thousands and thousands of people are now coming together to unite, and we all have varied opinions. Oh, I don't believe in that. You've got to believe in this. Well, you are individual. You're having an individual journey. Your life journey is different from mine. We see things differently. How on earth can you place it in the same box? It's not going to fit. So you see, we're all correct. As long as does not harm, destroy, or control people, we all are sovereignty connected to the divine, to the ultimate being of all that is. And that is beautiful. Creation and love is important. Sometimes love can be a little bit of a rough ride, but that is the important element that creates and expands upon what we are. So yes, let's all unite and let's put our heads together and come up with some amazing things to help us go forward, not backwards.
Yeah, I always envision it a little bit like we're all on one side of a fence watching something that's on the other side of the fence. But some of us, our little peek hole is really low and we're looking at it from down there. And some are looking at it from being on a ladder, looking at it from up above. And we're seeing it very, very differently. And by putting all the pieces together, we come to some idea on what's going on, or maybe not. I think the big thing is I think today in our modern times, we're being faced to choose between love or logic. And there's nothing logical about love. To me, it's part of the great chaotic reality that creates everything. It's crazy making even, but it's definitely a good thing. And logic, sometimes there's nothing really loving about logic, and so we kind of have to have our feet one in one and one in the other to try to navigate. And it's all a bit crazy making, but with AI coming out and a heavy emphasis on logic over love, don't forget that, those of us that are capable of empathy and compassion, we've got a gem that no technology can have. And so I'm very excited about the book you've both produced. You've done a wonderful job. I love the poetry, Chris.
Thank you.
It really reaches your heart. So it reaches your mind, but it also really reaches your heart. It makes perfect sense. You've laid it out so well as far as a logical progression of the information. And it does not leave me with very many questions because it's so full of answers.
Thank you.
Before we say goodbye to everybody, do you want to take turns just talking a little bit about what you're up to, where you're at, and where people can find you? There'll be some people listening to this only on audio. It's good for them to hear the actual URL on where they can find you. And again, I just want everybody to know out there that the link to buy the Eternal Avatar is in the description below.
Thank you, Karen. I mean, you can find me on my own website. It's chrismays.uk. I'm an artist, a photographer, clairvoyant, psychic, and I just like to be creative, and it just seems to have been the case in all my career. And yeah, just reach out to me, speak with me. I have a contact there for you to, if you want to find out more about me, and I'd welcome you to get in touch with you.
And he's an amazing artist as well. Let me tell you, go check out his art, buy his artwork.
Thank you for that.
So I'm currently working on some other projects, a new book. It's still in the very, very early stages of embryonic formation. I've got a lot to go through, and I'm doing some filming later this year. So yeah, busy. You can get me at www.philipkinsella.com or www.thekinsellatwins.com, because I share one website with my identical twin brother, and Chris has got a twin brother, and I've got a twin brother. And
interesting.
Just to mention here, there are synchronicities that connected with our lives that mirrored, and it is incredible. So,
and it was the synchronicities that brought us to make the book and meet you as well, wasn't there?
There was indeed,
which is another story.
Yeah, that's another story. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, I want to thank you both for coming on the show. I want to thank you for sending me your book. I absolutely love it, The Eternal Avatar. I will highly recommend it to everybody. And bless both of you for the work that you do, because there is a lot of information. Oh, thank you. There's a lot of information out there, and it can be misleading. It can be confusing. It can make us not sure, but everything you both offer the world helps us to be more sure in our footing and to make this reality something really positive. I'm so excited. So everybody out there, whether you're listening on audio or replay, or you've been here in the live chat, bless you all. I love you so much. I appreciate you so much. And of course, Chris and Philip, can't wait to have you back, and just bless you for the work you do. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me for the Aliens and Angels podcast. Read about my true life ET contact in my book called Transdimensional Meet the New Neighbors, which is now available on Amazon worldwide. Subscribe to my YouTube, Rumble, and X channels at Karen Holton TV. The like button and leave me a comment, and please do share this podcast with your friends. Check out my website at www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com to see my free resources and amazing products and services. All of the links will be in the description below. As part of the Forbidden Knowledge Network, you'll also find the Quantum Guide Show with Karen Holton on all audio platforms. Until next time, keep up the good work.